The UEFA Champions League is not just a competition, it's the greatest stage in world football, where ordinary athletes transform into legends and where dreams become reality. This is where the magic happens, with unforgettable moments that transcend generations. From the pioneers who shone in the early editions to the modern superstars who are redefining the game, this is a journey through the stories of the greatest players to ever grace the Champions League fields. Let's explore the careers of giants like Di Stéfano, Cruyff, Zidane, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Messi, and discover how they earned their place among football's immortals. Who are the true kings of the Champions League? Get ready, because this journey through the history of European football starts now. The beginning of the legend. Did you know the UEFA Champions League wasn't always like it is today? It began in 1955, under the name European Cup. The concept was simple yet revolutionary for its time, bringing together the national champions from across Europe in a tournament to decide which club was the best on the continent. It might seem basic now, but it was the beginning of something huge. And who stole the spotlight right from the start? Real Madrid. Have you heard of Alfredo Di Stéfano? He wasn't just a star, he practically defined what it meant to be a football legend. With Di Stéfano leading the charge, Real Madrid completely dominated the early editions, winning 5 consecutive titles from 1956 to 1960. Can you imagine? 5 in a row. Di Stéfano didn't just score goals, he controlled the game, led the team, and created moments that would live on in football history. He scored in the final of each of these victories, which shows how he shone in decisive moments. And he wasn't alone. Real Madrid also had other legendary players like Puskas and Gento, who together set the standard of excellence that the Champions League carries to this day. This legendary start took the competition to new heights. What began as an audacious idea became the greatest club stage in the world. From that point on, players and teams knew, winning the Champions League meant making history. It's amazing to think that it all started with that unbeatable Real Madrid team, led by Di Stéfano. He was the first major star of a competition that, decades later, would become every footballer's dream. The historical icons. Now it's time to talk about the legends who shaped the history of the Champions League. These icons not only dominated the competition in their eras, but also defined what it means to be a legendary player. Let's start with a name that needs no introduction: Alfredo Di Stéfano. Alfredo Di Stéfano. Di Stéfano was the heart and soul of Real Madrid during the early editions of the tournament. We're talking about a player who won an incredible 5 consecutive titles from 1956 to 1960. That alone is impressive, but what really set him apart was his ability to shine in the most important moments. You know that player you can count on in the finals? Well, he scored in every final he played, a feat that remains extremely rare to this day. Di Stéfano wasn't just a goal scorer, he was the brains of the team, a leader who made everything happen on the pitch. Johan Cruyff. Next, we enter the 1970s, and here comes Johan Cruyff. Under his leadership, Ajax won 3 consecutive titles from 1971 to 1973, but that wasn't all. Cruyff changed the way football was played. He was the symbol of total football, a style where players switched positions and played in complete harmony. Ajax wasn't just a winning team, it was revolutionary, and Cruyff was at the center of it all. Every pass, every dribble seemed to be calculated to leave his mark on the game. Franz Beckenbauer. Soon after, we enter the era of Franz Beckenbauer. When you think of leadership, Beckenbauer is the name that comes to mind. He was the captain of Bayern Munich, who dominated the Champions League between 1974 and 1976, winning 3 consecutive titles. Beckenbauer was a defender, but not just any defender. He practically invented the role of the sweeper, that player who starts attacks from the back with elegance and vision. In addition, his presence on the pitch was so strong that it felt like he carried the entire team on his shoulders. These 3 players represent completely different eras of the Champions League, but they all have something in common. They were leaders on the pitch, born winners, and left legacies that continue to inspire generations. Each, in their own way, wrote unforgettable chapters in this history. The modern era. Looking at the more recent history of the Champions League, you can see that the competition has transformed into a global spectacle, with some of the greatest players of all time dominating the tournament. Let's talk about a few names that didn't just shine on the pitch but helped define the modern era of football. Cristiano Ronaldo is undoubtedly one of the greatest names in this new phase of the Champions League. He is simply the top scorer in the history of the competition, with over 140 goals scored. It's no surprise that he has 5 titles, 4 of which were won with Real Madrid, where he reached his peak in the Champions League. He was decisive in countless finals and became the man of comebacks and unforgettable goals, especially with his unbeatable presence in the knockout stages. Each season, it seemed like he had something new to show, with performances that guaranteed his immortal legacy in the competition. And who could talk about the modern era without mentioning Lionel Messi? The Argentine, one of the greatest geniuses in football history, also has 4 Champions League titles. With his unique vision of the game and magical ability, Messi led Barcelona to unforgettable victories, including a historic final against Manchester United in 2009, where he scored an epic goal. Even with his move to PSG, his connection with the competition remains strong, and he continues to be one of the most respected players in the tournament's history, with performances that are always decisive and full of class. Speaking of players who made history brilliantly, we can't forget Zinédine Zidane. The Frenchman, an icon of world football, won the Champions League with Juventus and Real Madrid. But for many, the most memorable moment of Zidane in the competition was his volley goal in the 2002 final, which gave Real Madrid victory over Bayer Leverkusen. And the most impressive part, Zidane didn't just win the Champions League as a player, but also as a coach, when he led Real Madrid to 3 consecutive titles between 2016 and 2018. Zidane is proof that class and leadership can mark generations, both on and off the field. But the Champions League is not just made up of giants with numerous titles. The competition has also been the stage for epic moments from players who, even without winning many trophies, marked their generations in a unique way. One example is George Weah, the only African player to win the Ballon d'Or. He shone for PSG and later AC Milan, always showing that talent has no borders. And who remembers Andriy Shevchenko? The Ukrainian was one of the most feared strikers of the 2000s, leaving his mark at Milan and causing trouble for any defense. And of course, Liverpool wouldn't be the same without Steven Gerrard. He was the hero of the 2005 final against Milan, one of the greatest comebacks in Champions League history, where Liverpool came back from 3-0 to tie and win in penalties. Gerrard was a symbol of leadership, fight, and heart, the true captain who never gave up, no matter the adversity. In the next section of the video, we'll dive deeper into these players. These players, each in their own way, also helped write the most exciting chapters of the Champions League, reminding us that even without lifting trophies in abundance, a great moment in the competition can immortalize a player in history. Legends of smaller teams. Now let's talk about some players who, although they haven't won as many Champions Leagues as others, made unforgettable marks on the competition. They may not have lifted as many trophies, but their historic moments continue to live in the memory of all fans. Starting with George Weah, a name that will forever be part of football history. He is the only African player to win the Ballon d'Or, and his journey in the Champions League is also noteworthy. Playing for PSG and then AC Milan, Weah was the type of player capable of deciding a match with his speed, technique, and game vision. Although he never won the Champions League, he was instrumental in bringing African football to the top and demonstrated the power of talent without borders. We also can't talk about great strikers without mentioning Andriy Shevchenko. He was one of the best forwards of the 2000s, shining especially with Milan. Shevchenko marked an era in the Champions League with his exceptional skills in front of goal. Even without winning the Champions League, he was a constant threat to opposing defenses and appeared in some of the most memorable editions of the tournament. His decisive goal in the semi-final against Inter Milan is just one example of the impact he had, along with his incredible ability to rise to the occasion in the most important moments. Last but certainly not least, we have Steven Gerrard. To many, he is the symbol of the heart and soul of Liverpool, especially for his heroic performance in the 2005 Champions League final against Milan. The famous miracle of Istanbul, where Liverpool came back from 3-0 to tie and win on penalties, had Gerrard at its center. He not only scored a crucial goal but was the emotional leader of the team in one of the most epic finals in football history. Gerrard may not have won many Champions League titles, but what he did in 2005 was enough to immortalize his name in the competition's history. These players are proof that the Champions League isn't just about trophies. Sometimes, a great moment, a historic performance, or a decisive goal is enough for a player to be remembered forever. They may not have won the competition as many times as others, but their legends continue to live on. From Di Stéfano to Cristiano Ronaldo, the UEFA Champions League has created legends who will continue to inspire generations. Each of these players, with their skills and achievements, not only marked their era but also helped build the history of this magical tournament. which is undoubtedly the greatest stage in world football. Whether through Di Stéfano's leadership in the early editions or Ronaldo's decisive goals today, they all left their unique and eternal mark. But the big question is, who will be the next to join this list of immortals? With the competition renewing itself every season, new stars are emerging and could soon be on the same level as these giants. The future of the Champions League is bright, and the next names to shine on this stage may write even more epic chapters in the tournament's history. Now, I want to hear from you. In your opinion, who is the greatest player in Champions League history? Leave your comment below. Let's talk about these football icons. And of course, if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. See you next time.